This is the video lesson for Lesson 6, Section 4. It's an in-class exercise, and we're going to draw a cylindrical object. In this case, it's just a simple bathroom faucet. And I want to project off the cylindrical body a handle and a spout. And it's sometimes a little difficult to figure out exactly how to draw these these handles and spouts coming off an object, so it really looks like it's in perspective. Well, the first thing that I want to say is that this is a small object, and when you're drawing a small object, often you really don't have to use vanishing points in your drawing. So let's just take a look at laying this out and some of the considerations that you're going to want to give a drawing like this. So my cylindrical object, I'm going to draw the minor axis, a vertical axis for the cylindrical body of the faucet, and at a right angle is a major axis, and I will use the major and minor axis to roughly lay in an ellipse for my top of my faucet. I'll use that same axis to draw an ellipse for the bottom of the faucet and then lightly connect these two ellipses. And they're not going to be perfect. What I'll do is fine-tune this drawing just a little more as we progress forward. All right, I want to put the spout coming out of the cylindrical body about this location. So I'm going to first draw an ellipse at that location and determine the center of the ellipse. Now the spout is going to project at 90 degrees off of this cylindrical faucet body. And projecting out 90 degrees, I can use this ellipse that I drew for the location of the spout, and I can see that I want to project it out, I'm just picking the angle, at an angle from the center to the outside of the ellipse, and then project it straight out, and this represents the minor axis of that spout. And I can also see approximately right here at the outer ring of the ellipse where the spout is going to join the body, cylindrical body of the faucet, and then project that out. Now I have to marry up the spout with the body of the faucet, and that takes just a simple little line. Now let's look at where I want to put the handle. And again, I'm going to draw the same kind of ellipse, determine the center of my ellipse. Let's put it up just a little bit higher. Center of the ellipse about here. The outer ring of the ellipse is here. And I will project out the handle at a slightly different angle than I'm projecting the spout. All right, so I've got these two objects. Let's just tighten them up a little bit. A right angle to the minor axis. I can draw the end of my spout, and that's going to have, if we look inside the book, we'll see that that's got a slight cutoff at the end, and I can tighten up my ellipse a little bit, draw in my spout, and then there is an aerator that's going to be coming off at a right angle to the angle of the end of the spout. I'll put in my ellipse, and now my handle. Handle's going to project right from here. Let's just make a round handle. We'll project it straight out at an end, and maybe there's just a little tiny interface with the main cylindrical body. I want to add heavy up this elliptical line right here, which would simply define the top of the faucet that turns to control the hot and cold water. So I've got my layout pretty much done. Let's just render this layout in Grayscale marker. But before I do that, and once again I'm going to tighten up just a few of these lines, and then I've got to step away from this drawing for just a second. And I stepped away to get the Grayscale markers. All right, let's render this. And this time, I'm opening up the Velcro box for my markers. This time what I'm using is an opaque paper. It's a simple Xerox bond paper. And up until this point in the book, we've always used trace paper. Well, this takes on a completely different characteristic than trace paper in that it is highly absorbent. So you tend to use more marker. The other thing about this kind of paper, or marker paper, or any kind of heavy sketch pad paper, is that since it does absorb marker, it does not sit on the surface and allow you to blend. So the way that you can blend with this kind of marker is to simply do layers of the marker. And every time you add a layer to the marker, you're going to get a slightly darker color. Colors you will see will turn out a lot more vivid when you're using this kind of paper. And it does take kind of practice. So cylindrical objects, and we're going to make this one kind of a chrome, is going to be defined with bands of light. So I'm just going to take a, in this case, it is a cool gray 9 marker, and add my first band of light. And you will see as I take the second marker, which I'll take a Grayscale, oh, let's use a 6, and kind of blend it off to the side, and I can create a darker color as soon as it dries by just doing a second layer. So this marker technique is layering markers as opposed to blending markers. It's a little more difficult and takes a little more time and effort to pull off. And some students prefer using this kind of paper. Other students really like marker paper or trace paper a lot better. So again, we can see the bands of light that I'm adding to define a cylindrical object. And if I go over it again a second time, now let's take, it'll come out slightly darker. Let's take a slightly lighter color and create our gradation just with multiple layers of marker. So you can start to see that this is looking a little shiny. And it's got kind of a nice characteristic of chrome or polished nickel, brushed nickel. And the shinier the object is, the bigger the contrast between the darkest darks and the lightest lights. Let's add a same kind of banding of light on the spout, and we'll add it on the handle as well. Highlight on the bottom and a little bit of reflected shadow on the back. And I can add maybe just a little hint of a shadow cast on the cylindrical body from the spout, and a little bit from the handle, and this should not quite mess it up a little too much, I guess, but that's just a reflection of the spout core line back into the faucet itself. Let's add just a little bit of color to the top and tighten up some of our lines. And the way I'll tighten up some of these lines is take I'm going to take a black and add a little vignette to the background. That one is almost empty. So I'll take another marker and define that edge. And let's tighten up the base. And you can see this is a completely different kind of we'll put a little shadow out here. It's a completely different technique than using trace paper. So you have to blend your markers by layering them, and it just takes a little more time and a little more effort to do this. It takes more time and effort also to kind of develop a technique to do this. And then I can tighten up the rest of my drawing with my Sharpie pen. The other thing about using bond paper is the colors do tend to bleed a little bit, where on marker paper you will not see that same kind of bleeding. It's just a little more expensive, a little nicer paper to use. Let's add this line right here, which is a small reveal for the control, hot and cold water control. And if you don't use the ellipses to determine the angle of the handle and the spout, you're going to wind up with kind of a strange drawing in that the handle can look like it's going up in the air or project down, and it's very difficult to kind of control the look of this if you don't set your drawing first with the ellipses, the minor, and the major axis. And let's take just one more little bit of color and add some to the end of this spout. And the aerator will also have that same banding of light, maybe a little bit more in shadow. And there is the completed quick sketch. And we generally allow about 15 minutes in class for this assignment. All right, let's finish this up.